Good to be with you all today. Uh, Thanks for being here to hear about our deep dive into Microsoft Planner, to-do lists, and more. Hopefully you'll have fun with that today. My name's Jeremy Cherney. I'm the owner and founder of Tobin Solutions. I'm glad to be here with you today. Uh, if you've been to our webinars before, welcome back. And if this is your first time today, welcome. Thanks for being here. And, really what matters to me most in this and what matters to, one of the things we do at Tobin is we provide a lot of education for people. And, for today, you like to be curious, maybe think about what you can discover in what we're sharing, and certainly ask for any questions and answers questions you have along the way. If you got some answers, for certainly drop those in too. Also want to introduce here, we have Amanda, who's on with us, and she's uh, assistant for Tobin and many other things, including helping make sure this webinar happens. So she is on here as well. So thank you, Amanda. Also, some of you get calls after the fact on these webinars just to see if there's any way we can assist you. And so you may get a call from one of our newest members of Team Tobin, and that's Seth Boyd. So Seth, you want to unmute yourself and say hi?
Hi, how's it going all?
Thanks for being here.
Happy to be here. And yes, you'll probably be hearing from me. So looking forward to talking after this.
Thank you. All right. So let's jump in on a few things here. Let's talk about Microsoft 365 as an overview here, because some of you have it, some of you might be new to it, but let's get clear about what it is and what it isn't. So I love this metaphor of the Swiss Army knife, because that is really so much of what Microsoft 365 is. It's a subscription service with lots of different tools and offerings and services and ways they interact, all wrapped up into one monthly fee. What you get for that fee depends on the fee you pay. There's different licensing, but Microsoft hosts it all for you. They've got the 99% uptime guarantee, and it's a great solution, great business solution for those of you that either long ago migrated your Microsoft Exchange on-premise servers up to the cloud, or now you're looking at other cloud migrations, moving files and things like that, or maybe you've already done that. And now kind of what's next? How do you get beyond that? So we'll be talking about some of that today. You can buy Microsoft 365 in different ways. Most of our clients use one of these 4 tiers, although there's other tiers and options. At a minimum, most people are on the business basic or the business standard. For our clients that are more interested in security, that have additional security needs around what Microsoft 365 does, then there's the business premium option, which includes greater security features. One of the things that's critical to know, some of you may have heard this before, and you've been to these webinars before and you're back, and I just really want you to hear this again. So listen like you've never heard it before, which is, even though Microsoft 365 hosts your information, they don't take responsibility for everything. They take responsibility for some things. So Microsoft 365, and this is from their page, but a lot of cloud services have these same kind of agreements with you, which is whose responsibility is what. And in the world of acronyms here, the SaaS column, the SaaS, that's software as a service. That's what really Microsoft is considering, when you're using their online Exchange, their online SharePoint, their online Teams, all of that. That's all that software as a service. And they provide all that, and you can see under applications, network controls, operating system, physical hosts, all that Microsoft's going to be responsible for. But if you look at that top one, which is responsibility always retained by the customer, your information and data, which is really what most people care about, all the devices you use, all the people that use your system and how they access the system and what they can do, and then how maintaining all that information and what that maintenance looks like. So someone's got to be doing this for you. In some cases, we're doing it for you. If you're not a current Tobin client, you may have another provider doing it, or maybe you're doing it yourself. Or maybe you're doing it yourself and you didn't know this was now your responsibility. And it's now something that you're kind of cluing in, like, how are you doing that? So Tobin Solutions is also a Swiss Army knife when it comes to 365. We have many people and tools and systems and services we can offer to help you with 365, especially around security, support, administration. We also provide training. We have the free webinars here, but we also have training services where we can help you learn more deeply how to use these things more specific to your situations. Got integration. These tools talk to each other, and we're going to get into a bit of that. And then there's just like business analyst type work around this. How do these things work within your business, and then how do we get data from whatever systems you've got into it so that you can actually work with it. So let's jump into what today's about. Does any of this sound like you? I feel overwhelmed and exhausted from the piles of work on my desk. I feel like I'm spinning my wheels. More and more work is piling up, even though I'm overloaded, and so on. So, there is a modern life here in the world that we live in, and especially in business, there's another kind of life, right? We've got piles everywhere. We've got to-do lists, task lists, and kind of every area of life. And I definitely feel overwhelmed sometimes, and certainly exhausted, over it at times. And so, there's different things you can do around that, right? You can either kind of shrink down what you're doing and try and make it more manageable. And sometimes that's one strategy, or sometimes it's like, hey, I don't want to give up these things. I just want to be able to do things more effectively. So I'm not feeling as overwhelmed. I'm feeling more in control, or I'm not feeling as exhausted, but I'm feeling more energized. And so part of that, we're going to share some tips and tools and strategies for ways you can do that. Whoop. So I am not a time management expert. I'm very interested in it because I spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to be better at my own time management. So I'm an interested party, one would say. And there's no shortage of books or apps or strategies or advice on this. If you're looking for some good ones and you just want to add some popular ones here, if you haven't seen these, there's some good books on this subject, right? If you want it done right, you don't have to do it yourself, by Donna Gannett. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. And one that's really popular lately is Atomic Habits by James Clear. So any of those are going to give you some good strategies and tips and tools and all that to, whatever works. It doesn't really make a difference as long as you kind of pick one or something else that you're actually going to be able to use. Give me 1 second here. And that's what I got here. Okay. So I'm going to pick one of these books, though, because it's one that I got introduced to that I liked, and it was kind of a real simple option. And again, I'm not an expert on this by any means. What I do want to do is kind of frame up the concepts of some of the time management and some of the things that are probably fit across all the different books and things we're talking about, and just having some place to kind of ground the conversation in as we talk about some of the tools and how you could apply that. So this is the book. I'm not, I want to give them full credit here because I'm going to, share some pieces of it, all intellectual property and everything. None of this is ours. It's all theirs. And please go buy the book. It's a great book. This Donna Gannett, I met her once personally. She came and spoke to one of my business groups, and it was just great. So this is a real super easy one to follow. And I'm going to share some of the main points here, but I would definitely get the book because it's well worth the read. And maybe one of those things you want to give to everyone you know in your life, especially if you're on their to-do list somewhere and not getting, and things aren't moving. So there's a couple kind of 6 key steps from the book and what they call effective delegation. First of all, there is preparing beforehand, right? If you're going to give somebody something to do, prepare beforehand. I know some of my biggest flops of delegation are when I just jumped in and just started handing something out off the top of my head without really being clear about it. Which gets to the next step. Clearly define the task to be completed. Being clear about it, being specific, getting the time frame, not just I need this, please, or as soon as you can get it. ASAP is not a time frame. If you want it to be someone's next priority, you need it done in 3 days, then clearly say that, hey, this is your new number one priority and it needs to be done by Friday at 5 p.m. You also want to be clear what the level of authority is. And this is really an interesting one. This is more, again, not really a technology thing, but how to do it. What are people going to do here? And in the book, they cite a couple different ones. One is the authority to recommend. Hey, go out, get 3 quotes and give me some ideas about why you recommend what you recommend and bring that to me so I can make a decision. Level 2 is the authority to inform and initiate, meaning, hey, you're going to go, you're going to do your research, you're going to come back and with your plan, and you're going to kind of tell me that plan, and you're probably just going to run with it because I kind of trust you to be able to do that at this point, because otherwise I wouldn't have given it to you. And trust but verify, I just want to take a quick look before you run with the plan to make sure we're aligned. And the last level, this requires a lot of trust, is the authority to act. Just go do it. Then there's identifying checkpoints along the way. The bigger, more complex the project, the more new this is to the person being given the task, you might want to put more checkpoints in along the way. And then in the end, just debrief what went well, what could have been improved, and what could be learned. And you'll find if you do these things on a pretty regular basis, you'll save a lot of pain and suffering, or a lot of, no, 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 that's not right. Let me take it back so I can go do it myself. Remember, the title of the book is, if you want it done right, you don't have to do it yourself. But when we get frustrated, when we don't prepare, we don't define, when we don't outline, when we don't give the level of authority and give a little checkpoints along the way to help them out and just wait to the end to find out what happened, oftentimes that leads to heartache, tears, upset, anger, lost employees, frustrated managers, extra work for you. So lots of good things are at stake by you actually getting good at this. And it's a practice, not a perfect, right? This is the metaphorical mountain with no top. You can always just keep getting better at this, but start taking some swings at the bat here. That's the invitation for today. So they have a nice little handy chart, when you want to recommend versus inform and initiate and act. So they make it easy. Is the importance high? And the employee knowledge is high, you might say, hey, let's inform and initiate. If the importance is medium and the employee's knowledge and expertise is high, you might just say, hey, just go do it. So you can kind of clearly see these. If it's a high level project, but the person has low expertise, you might just say, hey, go out and recommend, give me some ideas, help me with some brainstorming, and we'll run it from there. So you can kind of work through this, but this is really important. It really takes something to know, because it's, it's so, I know from personal experience that, for people that I've delegated things to, if I haven't done some of this work and I haven't told them where I want them to go, and then they jump in more than I wanted them to, it can, they'll feel like, well, why did I waste my time? Or if I jump in and I'm like, hey, I wanted you to go do this, and they're just coming back with ideas, like, why did I waste my time on that? I could have just done this. So there is something to be really clear and not just assume anything. So define your expectations, figure out the why. That's really part of your job is in most of the time is, why are you delegating this? Why is the behind the task? Sometimes that's really important to people before they can go run with it. It'd be nice just to say, go do it, and they go do it. And sometimes that's what there is, your hands on the hot stove, take it off. Now, why? You don't need to know why, right? Just go do it. But then there's the bigger thing of, sometimes there is, why are we doing this? Why is this change happening? Why do you need this? Why is this the level of urgency? Why is this, level of authority you're giving me? Don't read people's minds or make assumptions. The benefits are many. Just think to yourself, what would it be like if you were effectively delegating things and getting back the results you wanted? What could be available? What could you focus on? What does it say about your leadership at that point? When people are being given an opportunity to succeed or fail, but really doing it in a way that works where you get great results or great learning opportunities to then build and develop the team. There's so much at stake here by being good at this, which gets to accountability because ultimately, when you're going to delegate something, you're going to have to give it to somebody and they have to know what it is. And depending on the complexity of it, you're going to want to track it. You're going to want to know what's happening there. So, how are you going to do that? And now is the time. Now is the day. Carpe diem. I know some of you have been to these seminars before and watched some of these. You've probably read other books or other things on the topic. Pick a couple things from this. Don't worry about it being perfect. Just worry about it being good enough to get started. I guarantee there's some gold in what you're going to see here that are going to help you improve some of the things you're trying to do as far as effective delegation and accountability and management and really, but fundamentally producing results, great results for you, for the team, for your customer. And you're going to be able to, you might be thinking, well, I already do this on a spreadsheet or I do it this way, however you do it. That is fine. There may not be nothing wrong with the spreadsheet, but there might be some new things here that you hadn't even thought of that if you could get that data and that system out of that spreadsheet and one of the tools we're going to look at here shortly, that it might actually give a whole new level of accountability for people and really, produce the results you're trying to get to in a way that you hadn't even thought of. Okay. So let's see here. This is really important, this keeping it real. Because again, for me, what I discovered in all my failed attempts at delegation when they fail is it's too conceptual. I'm not giving them real specific things. I'm not giving them like due dates. I'm not necessarily assigning it to people. Hey, team, go do this. Go do this someday. Go get this done by the, as soon as you can. There is something to once you take something from your ideas and what you want and putting a date and time and structure around it that really adds the juice in getting it done. It makes the difference of getting it done by when you say it's going to get done or when you want it to get done versus, well, we didn't get it done that quarter. We'll just shoot it to next quarter or next year. So how you do that, maybe you're putting that stuff into a spreadsheet, maybe you're using emails, but let's find out, how are you doing that? Let's see. Which survey do we want to look at? Let's talk about some areas where you want to improve here. Let's get it real for y'all. So as you're thinking about these things, where do you want to, what part of your business do you want to impact? Go ahead and answer on the poll there. Hopefully you're seeing the poll. Yeah, people are starting to answer. Great. Some people want to make a difference in sales. Sales is winning. Always use more sales. Admin, administration, right? Man, so many things to deal with in administration for you administrators out there. There's a whole lot to deal with there, a whole lot of things that people are accountable for, and being able to delegate and manage all that really takes something. So administration won here with 55%, then we closely followed by sales at 38. Oh, we jumped to 62. It's shifting a little bit. Almost every area, right? Apparently marketing is rock solid. No one either needs any help there or is doing anything over there. But yeah, right? Every area of your business probably could be impacted by having more effective delegation. Thank you. So, how does Microsoft do this? how does Microsoft handle the tasks and things like that, right? Now, when you think about it, you're probably doing it. Uh, oh, you know what? I think I want to do a different survey. We're going to do another survey because that gets to the other question I've got, which is, how are you doing it now? How are you guys tracking stuff? Are you using any of these apps? One Trello user. Planner. Oh, we got a planner user. That's good. Some people are using To Do. Great. Probably somebody using, no one's using Google Tasks. Spreadsheets. We don't have that up there. That might be in a different poll. Using spreadsheets, things like that. Probably a lot of you are doing that. Or a Word doc, or a big whiteboard sitting in the conference room. It's great. Thank you. So how does Microsoft do it? They have a number of different tools and technologies that where they build this in, and it is ever evolving. And they actually put it in a couple different places, and some of it integrates pretty tightly, some of it's a little less tight. And it kind of depends on the context of where you're going to be inside the applications and what you're trying to do. So we're going to do a little bit of a demo later on, but I at least want to introduce you, overview of what some of these apps are. So Microsoft Planner, that is team-based task management. So I don't know if you all know that, but if you have Microsoft 365, you have Microsoft Planner as part of your subscription, which is a web-based and mobile-based application that lets you do basic task management, basic project management. It's not Microsoft Project, that's a separate application, but this one works really well for a lot of things that you might want to use. If you need something more advanced, or you've got integration with certain other tools that integrate with project management tools, they probably integrate with Microsoft Project. That's another solution that Microsoft provides. It's a more advanced solution with more complex project management tasks. We're not going to really touch too much on that today, other than the fact that it exists. And it's another subscription you can add on to your Microsoft 365 if you need it. Then we've got Microsoft To Do, and they've really done a lot on that in the last few years to really improve that application. You've got Microsoft Outlook, where you can flag things. And then all of that integrates with Microsoft Teams and in other places, which we're going to touch on for that. So we're going to dive into some of these. When we dive into it, what is the power here, right? What makes the difference? Oh, we got an automatic fast forward there. Whoops. This Microsoft graph is like, you don't even know it's there, but it's there. And it's really a big, powerful piece of Microsoft that they're constantly improving. And what that means is, Microsoft is selling 365 as software as a service, right? So the more you put up there, the more applications you use, the more data you put up there, the more it can start trying to tie things together for you, either on an application integration level, on a data integration level, on a search level, to be able to search across your entire Microsoft 365 environment for things. They call it Microsoft Graph. And that all happens in the background. And that's a real power piece of why this technology, one of the things that enables the technology to be more useful. So what is Planner? It is task-based planning. I should actually update some of these slides. I know they got some Microsoft changes the look on these periodically. But these are pretty close. But this is kind of what it looks like. And I also show the picture of the mobile app here. There is a full mobile app for this. You don't have to look at it through a web browser. So if you've got mobile warriors out there, you've got people on the shop floor, you've got people working, running around, salespeople. There were a lot of people that wanted to automate things on the sales side. You've got their sales tool in your pocket here. for if there's any parts of that that get into Microsoft Planner. Your administration, you want to go follow up on things. If one of your tasks is to, I don't know, take inventory or something like that, you've got an app now that you can go mobile with. It's tremendously powerful. So they call it task-based planning, right? Kind of a to-do list on steroids, letting you take your to-dos or tasks and kind of sort them, separate them, categorize them, arrange them differently, look at them visually so you can lay them out like you're looking at a whiteboard of some kind, putting them out there like you've got like post-it notes and you're moving them along, but you can do it all visually. You got notifications that it can do. So when someone gets assigned a task or has an upcoming task that's due or overdue, and again, you can work from any device. Don't underestimate the mobility factor. If some of you are still using a spreadsheet on a shared drive somewhere and it still looks huge and you can open those things from a phone sometimes or from a tablet. It's not always convenient or easy to edit. So where you've got these apps, it can make a difference in just usability. So yeah, you create a plan. A plan is made up of tasks. You put your due dates, you assign priorities and people. You can attach photos and things like that. And again, I'll do a demo here in a bit, but it's pretty straightforward. You can kind of use as much of this or as little of this as you want. You can just create a to-do list and just give it a name. You can assign a to-do date. If you want to assign it to somebody, you can. You can add sub checklists underneath it to add some juice to it. But you don't have to use it all. You can just use bits of it, right? The key to some of this stuff is not taking on too much, right? When you take on something new and you really jump all in, you want to be excited and get in, but you want to be able to do it in a way that's going to work for you and you know what you can take on. Are you the kind of person that, hey, I'm going to set my mind to running and I'm going to get out and run 5 times a week and just build up and go do a marathon? Or are you the person that's, hey, I'm going to start stretching and then walking and then add that in and then walk a mile and then run a mile and then go up to 2 miles or whatever that looks like, but there's a progression for you and you kind of know yourself and you also know what leads to success for yourself. So get real with yourself, right? If you're one of those people that goes all in and then gets injured after 3 days and now sidelined for 3 weeks, then, you could try that strategy again, or you might try something different. Again, invite you to start testing this, playing with this. I guarantee you have some small project or even some real big, important, critical project where this stuff can make a difference. When you take these tasks, you can put them into buckets. That's how they organize tasks. So it's not just a task sitting out there like, clean the closet. It's part of if you're selling a home and getting it ready, it's clean this closet, clean that closet, clean the garage, paint this, fix that. You start getting multiple tasks and then you can put them into buckets. And the buckets match what kind of tasks they are. It can be by department or phase. You've got notifications. Basically basic emails or push notifications if you're using the app. But again, sufficient. You don't have to go say, hey, I updated the spreadsheet, so go look for your new tasks. All you have to do is assign a task to somebody and they'll get an email saying, hey, you've been assigned a task, and they'll get a link to the task and to be able to go right into Planner and see what's in there. It's got some charting, right? You want to be able to kind of manage your tasks. That's part of that key part of the delegation is for you, if you're going to delegate things, you can't just, abdicate. I mean, you can, but you know what you get with that generally. Delegation means, hey, I got a good team. They're working on stuff. They're clear about what they're up to and where are they at. How's the project going? Everyone gets off task. It's not about so much whether you get off task, it's how quickly you notice it and how quickly you adjust. So you can get a lot of good information from just even these basic reports, right? You can export all this stuff out to Excel if you want. It's pretty cool. This is a nifty feature. You can actually invite external people to your 365 tenant and only give them access to the plan you give them access to. So what if you're doing a plan with a client or with your marketing company? you could actually share these tasks and see the results. They can get a link to the task and only see what they get access to. And they don't need a license for it. They don't need a Microsoft 365 license. And they can do most of what you want them to be able to do. Upload stuff, mark things as complete, add notes, things like that. So there's some good stuff in there. Then we have Microsoft To Do. This was, what did Microsoft do? They bought someone else's To Do app, I think, and remarketed theirs. And they just started aggregating to-dos from all over that graph, all of that Microsoft graph, all the different things. So it'll grab to-dos from Planner. It'll grab to-dos from Microsoft Outlook. It'll grab other to-dos that are out there. You can create your own to-dos because some people are like to-do people. Some people, they just like a list. Here's my thing for today. I need to do these 5 things, or I need to do these 10 things by Friday at 5. You know, if that's how you like to work personally or professionally, or that works for you and how your team organizes themselves, this is another great way to get a view of that. They don't need to go and see a whole project plan. They might just want to see their list of things, or their list of things from that project in addition to the other to-dos, so they can really organize their whole life. Fun fact, studies show peak cognitive alertness and deep thought occurs about a couple hours after you wake up. So you want to do your planning and managing and things like that after about 2 to 4 hours of waking up. You know, your mileage may vary, but that's a great time of day to check in on your to-dos. And so again, if you've got a dashboard, if you've got an easy report, if you've got a good place to look, now you're not having to go dig. You can see if things are on track. You can see if things are off track. You can go give a thank you, take a victory lap. You can do all kinds of things if you know what's actually happening. You can then add and augment. You can plan your next project because your other projects are now on track. And now you've got so much time because you've been delegating things out that you can now focus on those other projects, those bigger ones, those ones that have been important, but not as urgent. Now you got some time. All right. Uh, so more about To Do. I'll give a demo on that in a bit, but it lets you create lots of different tasks and things. It's a really cool app. And again, there's a full mobile app for this too. So this is super handy for, being on the road and seeing what's next, right? If you're the on the road salesperson, you're the technician on the road, you're just working from home, wherever you are, and this is how you operate. You can see it all from your phone, from your tablet, and not skip a beat. You don't have to then log into a VPN, find your shared X drive, and find that spreadsheet and open it up to see what those to-dos are and update it. You know, if you're doing that, you can keep doing it, but you know how limiting that is when you're mobile. And maybe you want it that way. Maybe you're like, hey, if I put this in place, and I'm going to work too much. I don't know. That's up to you. But I think if you put this in place, you might work a little less because you're going to be more in control of what you got going on. You'll find out, but you got to get out there and try. Yeah, this is just Microsoft To Do everywhere. So again, it's mobile, it's on a tablet, it's in a web browser. You can use this personally. You can create different lists. You can share lists with people. So if you use this personally and you've got your grocery list or something, or the list of stuff you guys need to buy for supplies for the office or something like that, and it's a shared list, you can do that in To Do. You can do them within Outlook. So those same to-dos, and I'll show you where that is in Outlook, but you can you can flag emails. Those all get centralized. So you can start to see, I can go use these applications, Outlook, Word, all that. But from there, I can say, create a to-do that then shows up centrally in my place. So I can get all my to-dos in one place rather than having to go into each application to go find out what's needed there. If you're a OneNote user, same thing. You can put the to-dos in there because when you add a to-do in OneNote, it shows up as an Outlook task. And since To Do integrates with Outlook tasks, it's going to automatically put those in your To Do for you. So this is another great place. If you're a planner, if you don't like to use Microsoft Planner because you don't get it, don't like it, don't want it, but you're like, hey, I like OneNote, you can accomplish the same thing because you can put those to-dos in there and assign them to people. So just what I just said, To Do integrates with Planner. So when you're in your Microsoft To Do, you're going to have, let me just cancel that. Go on here. Do not disturb. The To Do integrates with Planner. So you'll see all that stuff again. So To Do is a pretty cool app. If you haven't seen it, that would be something you might really want to invest some time in. Because you can create these tasks. We'll show you how to do that. But you can, again, you can just create a simple task. Go do X, go do Y. You know, write a letter to this client, follow up on this proposal. But if you want, and you want to add the juice to it, add due dates, reminders. You can create repeating tasks like, hey, every Friday at 2 o'clock, I want to go through my week and what I accomplished and plan out my next week. Wouldn't that be a powerful thing to add into your life? What could be accomplished if you took a few hours every week just to finish the one week and start the next one? You can get detailed with it, adding notes. You can move tasks. You can reposition them. There's all kinds of cool stuff you can do. You can create lists of tasks. So you might just have a task. You might have a special list of things. It might be a list that you use often. It might be a checklist you use like hey, every time we have a piece of equipment and we have a checklist of 10 things for maintenance items to do on this equipment that we do twice a year. You can create a list that you can reuse and assign to people for maintenance. This is a nifty thing. With To Do, it's got what's called the My Day functionality. Every day, it's like a brand new day, a brand new clean scratch pad. And you start the day, you open it up and it's clean, and you can start adding your tasks. You can add new tasks to this, but it also prompts you for tasks that you already have that might be overdue or new tasks you've got. So you can grab that, tasks you might have missed from the day before. If you've got recurring tasks you want every day, like, meditate or enter your time in the system or review your budget report, you can add those as a recurring thing. And then every day you can just check them off when you're done and you get the very satisfying the ding sound that you accomplished it. There's few things in life more satisfying than crossing off something from a list, especially something that's been on your list for days, weeks, months, years. Anybody who got some to-dos that are years old, you might actually have a shot of getting them accomplished here if you can get your delegation under control. Enormous opportunities. And then Microsoft Teams, it all fits into Microsoft Teams if you're interested in that. So if you have not been spending more time in Microsoft Teams, I invite you to spend more time in Teams. Again, most of you have it for free as part of your tiered subscription. And, it does the basics. It does the voice video conversation. Some of you are doing it for conferences and meetings and things like that. That's a great use for it. Some of you have started to replace email internally and starting using more chats within Teams because, with Teams, you can also do chats and group chats and voice video calls, but you can also see things in Microsoft 365 for it. So Teams becomes the entryway. It becomes the doorway to what's in your Microsoft environment, if that's the way you want to operate. Now, I want you to hear that again, if that's the way you want to operate. Because some of you operate with spreadsheets and Outlook and Word and all that kind of stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there's other ways you can get at stuff. Instead of hunting for files in Explorer and that, you can make it easy to get to inside of Microsoft Teams. You could automate how you do some of these things and put it into Microsoft Teams. And when you have new people that get on board, You're just showing them how to use what's in Microsoft Teams. And while they would still use Outlook and Excel, and some of that's a little conceptual if you haven't seen it, it becomes that one place for them to go find everything, right? You ever have a challenge having people when you're onboarding new people or delegating tasks to people for them to find what they need to do their job or find what they need to complete what you're delegating to them? What if they could actually get at the information, get at your knowledge base, get at the documents, get at your procedures? So when you delegate, it's easy to get to and they know what to do and where to get to it. Teams is a place where you can put all that stuff. You can make things more fluid with Teams, right? Instead of sending emails back and forth, you can chat, you can do other things. So we're going to do another survey. Get very excited about Teams. Let's see, what other, what, so which products are you using inside of Microsoft Office right now, inside of Microsoft 365? Not just using, but using for delegation and task management. Got some bookings people. A lot of Outlook still going on. Oh, a lot of people using Teams. That's good. And Teams is what Teams is, right? You guys using the new version. You get bothered enough for the new Teams. It seems like they've worked out a few kinks there. It's been a more pleasing experience as far as technology goes. Yeah, you guys are using Outlook, Teams, SharePoint, OneDrive. Yeah, those are the top hitters. Some of you are using some of the other apps like OneNote. 3 planner users. That's fantastic. The to-do lists, forms, bookings. If you don't know what those are, lists, forms, and bookings, that there's some real power there. So applaud you guys using those. All right. Thank you very much. So what is Lists? Lists is an app that Microsoft developed that actually reads some information from SharePoint, which isn't really too important to this, but it makes using SharePoint a lot easier. Because one of the cool things with SharePoint is you could use it to create lists of anything, because lists is just another form of stuff you can manage and do. And you might be doing this in a spreadsheet or something like that, but the spreadsheets have its limitation. You could put this into Microsoft Lists, accomplish the same kind of thing, even import that spreadsheet into Microsoft Lists, make it a little more user friendly, including making it mobile and easier to use and add and update and get more visual. So we're going to give a demo of that in a bit. There's other tips and tricks I'm going to show you where you can create a task from Outlook. There's app mentions. I'm guessing using Microsoft Voice Assistant, you can use that to add tasks. You can use, if you use that Microsoft To Do from your phone and you're a Siri user or a Google Home user, and you want to use Google Voice rather, not Google Voice. What do they call their Google Assistant? The Hey Google thing. Oh, I'm activating stuff all over on my computers by saying that stuff out loud. The uh, you can use those things to add tasks. You can integrate things. You can say, hey, add a task to this while you're driving, while you're in the shower, right? Some of your best ideas and remembering, oh, I got to do this. I keep forgetting. Got to call this client. I keep forgetting. You can use your voice assistant while you're driving to say, hey, remind me to do X, and it'll add it to your task list. Okay. I'm going to come in and switch into demo mode here. Going to reshare 1 sec. All right. Let's share. All right, so I am sharing another desktop here so we can see some different things. And I'm going to do a lot of this from the web browser because that's also a whole powerful piece of Microsoft 365 is the ability to get at and use this stuff through a web browser. Um, but if you go to office.com and you're logged in, you log in with your web browser, if you've logged into your desktop and your desktop's integrated with Microsoft 365, you'll get kind of the standard startup. You'll get your waffle menu or the app launcher, and you can see all the different apps that come with your subscription. So your different subscription could be giving you different things depending on what you have. You may or may not have some of these, but these are all places where you can get into any of those. So let's start with Planner. I click on Planner. And we're now in the world of Planner. So this is what you get. There is no desktop app for Planner right now. I don't think they've added one. You pretty much use it through a web browser. It works really well. But there is an app for your phones and tablets on both Android and Apple. So you can definitely get a great experience from using it there, and including creating things and adding stuff from there. But part of what you're going to do, you're going to do from here. So you have what's called the hub, which is where you're going to see all the different plans. And you've also got any tasks in Planner that might be assigned to you. So I'm going to go to the hub and just going to create a new plan. They've got some nice templates here. I would start with a template if I were you, at least to start to play along. You've got a simple plan you can start with. You've got one called project management. Anybody doing any employee onboarding? You know, what's a nice thing you can do for your new employees is have a nice onboarding process, right? You know, how frustrating it is when you're got somebody on board, you've invited them into your company and told them how great things are, and then they come in on day one and it's a bit of a mess as they're trying to scramble to help this person get up to speed and, you know, who's doing what, and you're off to something else. So you can actually create like an onboarding plan or a general business plan. So I'm going to pick an onboarding plan here. And, you know, Seth, you just joined the team, so we have a different methodology for managing your stuff, but I'll just put you on here for that. You can get a sense for it. I can add it to an existing Teams group if I want it to show up there, and I can change the security on it. Is this going to be a private one that's really just for the people that are on this plan, or is this going to be a public one that anyone inside my organization can use? And I'm going to leave it private for right now. And it's going to do its little chugging along. And look what it did. It created a nice plan here with some real great stuff, right? If they have an accepted offer, what's next? How do you get their technology set up? These are these buckets I talked about. This is the post-offer acceptance bucket. This is the technology bucket. This is the paperwork bucket, and so on. And each bucket, the only thing you can do under a bucket is add a task. You can move them around and drag them around and delete them and stuff like that and rename them. But fundamentally, the bucket, like I said, is a bucket of tasks. So here's a quick task. Set the employee start date. After they've been offered, that's the bucket this task is in. Is it started? No. What's the priority? When do you want it to start? When does it due? Does it repeat? You can put some other notes in here if you want. You can add an attachment. You can add an item here. Attachments. You could put their signed employment agreement if you wanted to. You know, you could do all kinds of things from this. You can tag things for what group it is. It's got this tagging feature. So you can say, oh, that's an HR feature. So that'll help people on the HR side finding all their things. So these are pretty straightforward, simple tasks. You've got these kind of tasks that are a little more complex. So very similar. It's got the name. It's got, you know, what tag it is. These are tags being assigned to IT or labeled with IT. Got the notes. But now you've got this, which is kind of interesting, a little small sub list of what to do. Someone's asking if I can use the project management template. I'm going to stick with this one, but if I've got time, I will definitely show you that. The concepts to this follow the same. But thanks for asking. So you got this checklist. You can add items in here to make this task add a little more meat around it. What does it mean to set up an employee? Add the employee preferred username, get their permissions set up. Could be things like that. Again, you can add attachments and do all that. So you've got all of that, and then there is uh, assigning it to somebody, giving it to somebody. I can assign it. And right now I'm the only one in our tenant, so I'm going to assign it to myself, which isn't a bad thing, right? We can create our own to-do lists and things like that. And sometimes we are the resource on it. So in some cases, we absolutely are doing that, right? So I'm assigned there and I can close that out. And now on the card, you can see that JC now has been assigned this task. And if I look at the assigned to me, I can now see these are all the tasks that are assigned to me. And if I'm on multiple plans, I will see different levels of things assigned here. I can see the due date. I can set a due date on this if I want. I can go back to my hub and see what's on there. Stacy's asking about if I add a signed employee agreement, would that update then with the files on SharePoint? So what you would probably end up doing is you would actually, oh, that's a good question. Where does it store those? Now I'm thinking about it. It must store them somewhere in SharePoint. I'm thinking automatically, but I don't have the answer to that. I'd have to come back to that. What I do know is if you first upload it to SharePoint, like you get that email back from them or whatever, and then you store it in SharePoint, when you go in to here and you add an attachment, it's going to either suggest recent things you just worked on or added, or let you add a new attachment. So in this case, you would then link and pick the link to your SharePoint doc, and it won't actually add in as a full attachment. But that's a good question. I might have to come back to get you a little more deets on that because I'm actually kind of interested in where that puts that. So you got that. When something's done, you mark it as complete. And now it hides it from here and moves it down to this completed tasks look. I can go to the charts here. This is where you can see those graphs. You can see what's happening, see who's loaded up, who's got more tasks than others. You can see what buckets things are and how many tasks are in those buckets. You can look at things by priority. You can sort things by bucket, by assigned to, by progress. And if you're really interested, you can export your whole plan out to Excel and get your Excel geek on with that. Okay. Now, the other thing I can do is I can go into Outlook. That is another place where I can have things in Outlook and use tasks. So let's say I do a new email and I'll just, again, send that to myself. You ever send it to yourself to do emails? Remind me to call customer. Remember that? Like, oh, got to call that customer. I remember when I was driving in or something like that, or you get out of the shower and you're all wet trying to put something into your phone, like remind me to follow up on this. Remind me to get to the bank, like whatever that is. So you got that. Now you've got just a simple email in here. How do you turn this into a to-do? Well, one thing you can do is you can flag it. And you can flag that email. And that's just a normal Outlook functionality. And then Outlook has, its to-dos where you can go in and see the different to-dos that Outlook has. But you can also go right into your full Outlook here. Oh, the flagged email didn't show through yet. Sometimes it's a little slow. Assigned to me, so why is that not showing up? Good demo. These should be showing up here. I don't know why that's not happening at the moment. Hmm, flagged email. There we go. Remind me to call the customer. So this is in the to-do view of things. Remember we talked about Microsoft To Do and the to do starts showing up here. So you've got the flagged email. That assigned to me one didn't show up yet. Maybe because, is that because I completed it? Might be because I completed it. Let's see. Hmm. Not sure why that assigned is, but anything in Planner that would be assigned here. Oh, there it is. Just got to be a little patient for it to all sync up. So there is that assigned to me. I can also look at things that are planned out in terms of a date added to a task. And I can go in and start adding tasks. And this is that My Day functionality I talked about. Now, this experience I'm showing you with this My Day is the same thing you get from the To Do app that you can install. So then you get a more of an app-like experience. Same things. You can see what's assigned, what's flagged if you don't want to be in a browser. But again, you've also got the app for your phone or tablet that also works with this. So I could simply go in here and add a new task, you know, submit report by Friday at 3. Can put that in there, create tasks. I can see my different tasks, but you can see how it's creating these different buckets of tasks. This one it's got under planned, it's got this one assigned, it's got this one as flagged, it's got this one as tasks. On My Day, it's got nothing at the moment. So I can go in here and I can use this little suggestion box and it brings up things. Oh, this one might be important because I recently added it. Sure, let's add that to My Day. If I want to add the employee start date piece and put that on here, I can do that. If it's also meet client for lunch at 12 as a reminder to do that, you can just start adding things for yourself. And then when you're done, you can have the satisfying mark it complete. And when you mark it complete here, it's marked complete. If I mark it complete here, because that's a planner one, it's actually going to mark it complete in planner. And if I mark it complete here as a flagged email, it's going to mark it complete inside of Outlook for me. We talked a little about that lists app. Man, should get a little more time for the demo. Sorry about that, folks. We're gonna have to wrap up here in a minute. The other piece of this with Teams, I think I'll drop in as another component here is you've got Microsoft Teams. Did you know Teams has a little apps extension here? And if I go in here and I pick apps and I look for the To-Do app, Microsoft To-Do Planner, I open that up. I can even pin this to my sideline here. If you're in Teams all day long, you can now see all those tasks inside of Teams. Anything that's assigned to you, any plans you've got, all those tasks right in there. So it's immensely powerful. All that information follows you wherever you go. So when someone's asking about an app, if you put an app, there is a distinction between a task that is designed for planner versus a task that's just simply a to-do task versus a task that's simply a Microsoft task. So kind of in your question, I think if you create it in there as a planner and it's assigned to you, it'll show up in planner. You could try that out. I'm not positive on the answer to that, but ultimately there is a difference in what those are, which is kind of the reason it groups them all. But from your perspective, they're all tasks. You've got different things you're pulling things in from. You can also have things in comments. You can assign tasks to people when you're working on a Word document or Excel document. You can use the comments feature. And when you comment on something from there, you can actually assign it to somebody as a task. So rather than sending them an email with a spreadsheet and saying, go look at this row and tell me what you think, you can actually highlight the row, comment on it all inside of Excel without using emails and be able to track it. So it's immensely powerful. There's a lot you can do here. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for the extra time. There's going to be surveys coming your way to let us know how we did. Let us know what we can improve on. We've got another webinar coming up next month, and I think the topic is going to be AI and Microsoft Copilot, possibly. So that'll be an interesting one coming. Thank you for being here today. Please fill out that survey and let us know how we're doing. You also get a link to the video and to the PDF of the presentation. And have a great day.